Before we move on to CSS, let's put what we have learnt into practice and write the HTML for some actual web pages. Let's take a look at the web pages we're going to be building in the labs for this course. There are two labs, one for this part, the HTML lab, and one for the next part, the CSS lab. These are really helpful parts of this HTML and CSS basics course, as they give you a chance to put what you have learnt into practice and build something that emulates a real-world project. If you look in your project starter folder, there are a couple of folders to note. I'll take you through them now. There's a Labs Design folder, which contains the designs we're going to be working from. As well as that, you will find all the images we are going to be needing in the Images folder, which can be found in the Assets folder. There is also an Icons folder here as well. We've already used files from the Assets folder. Here we started to make more sense of them by putting the images in their own Images folder and the icons in their own Icons folder. This is how you would normally organize your files, as you may be working on something with quite a few different assets, like fonts and other media. Let's take a look at the designs. It's a good idea to keep the designs open whilst you code to refer to them. We have two pages, one article page and one landing page. This can seem a little overwhelming to start, but we're going to break it down bit by bit, starting with the HTML in this project and moving on to the CSS and styling of each page in the next part of the course. So we'll be doing the styling of these pages within the project for the next part. In this part, we're just interested in the content. When you're presented with designs such as these, it's always a good idea to start from the basics and work your way up. There's a lot of different ways and methodologies to tackle the HTML and CSS in a project. As this is a relatively small project and possibly your first one, we'll do it page by page and introduce some of these concepts as we go. One of the first things you'll notice, and is very common when building websites, is they contain a lot of similar elements, both in design and layout. The colours and fonts are consistent throughout, and the header and the footer are the same on both pages. So we can write the HTML for these only once and copy them onto both pages. I'll assume you've been using the index.html file for practice. So let's leave that file there. And we'll create a new file for both the article page and the landing page that we can start coding in. We can save these into our projects folder. So let's create our article.html file and just save it where the index.html file is in that projects folder. And we'll create another new file and we'll call that landing.html and do exactly the same thing. To view them in the browser, just go to the same URL you have been using, but type / and either article.html or landing.html, depending on which one you want to view.